Today, I have a machine tutorial and review for you. No, not that one. That one. My baby, the Elna 40. Hi crafters, how's it going? Today I wanted to give you an overview over my machine, which is the same as Mum's old machine, and I know, just teach you a few things about it and talk about what I like and what I dislike in it. I mainly like things. Spoiler alert. Now, from what we found, this machine is one of the ones with the largest throat out of the standard sewing machines, but it is nothing compared to Mum's Quilted Choice, which is also a baby lock in America. You can see that if I line up the sides, it's teeny, and then if I line it up so that the end of the arms are together, it fits in the arm of the other machine. I believe the Elna 40 is exclusive to Spotlight. It is a rebadged Janome, so it might only be Elna and Spotlight. I'm not 100% sure. However, this baby is still handy and good. This machine is about 4 years younger than Mum's machine, I'd say. We brought hers from Spotlight, I believe it was on sale, whereas we brought mine just after I started getting into quilting. We were looking on Facebook Marketplace and this baby popped up for $99, so we headed down. It was less than 100 k's away, it was like a half-hour drive. It was fine. It was a steal. The reason that they were selling it was it's their daughter's. They had a wedding decorating thing and she was making seat coverings, and the machine never worked well for her. To start with, the tension was off, the bobbin was done terribly, but that doesn't matter. I got my machine. Because of that, I didn't get all the feet with it. I think I got some, but not all. That wasn't a big issue because, as I said, Mum has the same machine, so we already had everything for it. The main difference between our two machines is that mine comes with a black plastic foot. Mum's has a white metal foot. We don't know why. The power cable is the same. It's just they have different feet for different ones. So I guess we can start on the side here. You have the point for your foot, which is kind of similar to the end of headphones. Then you have just a standard power cable that you plug in next to it. The on and off switch is directly above. And you have this lovely wheel that you can manually put the needle up and down with, and so it is kind of handy to have. You can see it does have a handle, as I think most sewing machines should. I have tape on mine as well as tape at the front and over the bobbin casing just as markers. They're probably not like the perfect, but they give me a rough estimate. I saw it on YouTube that it's a good idea to do it, or you can draw lines if you want to have like a certain measurement, even though it does have measurements all along the foot plate and on the bobbin casing. I just wanted that extra line there so that when I'm feeding it through, I know I'm roughly at about a 1/4 inch. I use a 1/4 inch foot anyway, so it's really not a big deal. It does have this bit here, is detachable. You can keep things inside the holes, but most sewing machines have that. It's just pretty standard. Once that comes off, on the back side here, you can put your dog feeds up and down. If you put them down and turn them back on, you do have to engage and start sewing for them to come back up. Also at the front, you have a plus and a minus, but you can use a screwdriver to tighten, and I didn't know what it was for. It turns out it's for your pressure foot. Who would have known? I only just learnt that that's how much pressure your foot puts on whatever material you're sewing. Mine's always stayed at a neutral, but at least now I know that if I need to loosen it, I can. It does have clear instructions on the bobbin casing for how to actually thread the bobbin, which is very handy because I always forget. I don't know what it is. It's like the second I start doing it, it's hardwired in me, so I know how to. But if I have to think about how to explain to someone how to put a bobbin in, it doesn't make sense. I think you put it in anti-clockwise and then run your thing through. I always like to feed a bit of thread up to where the needle is, just so I have enough length to pull out once the needle goes down a couple of times. It also has clear instructions up the top here for how to wind your bobbin. We've found, for some reason, sewing, my machine likes to have this teeny little wheel to keep the cotton on, but when filling up the bobbin I have to have the big wheel on, whereas Mum's is opposite, where she has to have the big wheel for sewing and the little one for a bobbin. It doesn't make sense, but it kind of does. So yeah, it's just as easy as winding the cotton onto this little screw up the top and then putting it through the hole in the bobbin, putting the bobbin onto your little gear here. Once you slide it to the side, it does have an SP that comes up on the actual computer itself. You just put your foot down and go, and it fills up. Sometimes I do notice that it might fill up too much at the bottom to what I like, so I'll just put a nail under it to lift it up a little bit so it fills the top, just the actual cotton somewhere near the handle. But it's not a big thing, and I think it's just something I'm fussy about. It doesn't have a picture drawing for how to thread your actual cotton, but it does have numbered threads and arrows. So to start with, you take it round this little corner arrow, down 1, you come back up for 2, 3, you hook it into little metal mechanism. If it's not there, it's because your needle's down, you just have to put that back up. And then you come down, you have to hook it to a plate just here. If you forget, it's not too big of a deal, it's just better to do it. And then there's another hook where the actual needle's screwed in, and then you just thread your needle. It does have an automatic needle threader. For some reason, mine stopped working great. I've never been able to really work the needle threader well. Mum's was working for a while, but now it's not after she killed the needle. So we don't know what it is. It could just be the way the needle's sitting, this random needle. It's not a big deal. I generally prefer to thread them myself anyway. You have a lever to put your foot down and then back up, so that you can have pressure on your fabric. And if you forget that, that's bad for quilting, because I did that the other day. There's also the standard foot setting, so you have your screw to the side so that you can change the actual bracket of foot if you need to. Or it just has a quick release at the back here. You put it back down and it clicks back into place. This little black pull down thing is actually the mechanism to get your buttonhole going. I've never done a buttonhole on this machine, but Mum has, and she was able to do it, so there's something, even though she is terrible at doing buttonholes on machines. It is a computerized machine, which is great because it's made me lazy, and using a mechanical machine like Mum's sewing machine has made me realize how much I love computerized machines. So you can see here there is a little number, and you also have your different threads with a corresponding number. You have another button to the side. The first one gives you where your needle's sitting, so if you have a zigzag stitch, your needle will move automatically anyway. But if you wanted to sew to a side, or your foot was slightly off, you can press the plus and minus and it will change. It also has stitch length for if you're wanting to have like a closer stitch. If you're just doing a tack stitch, you can do the longest one possible. That I find really handy, especially when I'm doing a stitch that I don't know how well I'm going to do it and I can easily unpick it later. Or for different layers of batting, because sometimes it's better to have more glues together, sometimes it's better to have looser. My favourite setting in the whole world is this slidey thing here. So you can have your fabric, no matter how far you put your foot down, it will either keep it slow or it will speed it up depending on the pressure that you put on. And this machine also has a stop start button, so that if you don't have your foot plugged in or don't have access to your foot, you can just press start and stop. You do have to have the foot unplugged for that, but I love the idea of that, so I know if I ever hurt my leg or knee, I don't need to use my foot. The feed dogs are really good at feeding fabric through, as you can probably see on the close-up. It's like real easy to use, I feel like it's a really easy machine to use. The other buttons on top of the stop and start, you have your up and down for the needle. Because it is a computerized machine, if you change any of the settings apart from tension and the dogs, it will automatically go back to normal. So when you turn it off and on, your needle will go up. But this is just an easy way to have it go up or down as you need it, especially if you get to a corner. You can just chuck it down, move yourself around, and it'll do it. If you're sewing and you have it put down and you continue to sew, it will stay in the down position when you stop, same as if you have it up. You also have your little knot feature, so that really it just sews a knot. It also has a reverse feature, so that you can go back over your stitches. I think that's pretty standard in machines, but I'm not sure. Your tensions here, I tend to keep mine between 5 and 6 a lot of the time, just because the machine works better with that. I think Mum's is better on a 4 or 5. It just depends on the machine, the fabric and the cotton that you're using. It's something that every now and again, if I notice my cotton's being a bit weird, I'll change it, but it's not too much to think of because it's one of the few non-mechanic parts. It doesn't reset every time, so you can just set it and leave it. But really, overall, I am so happy with this machine. I loved it when I used Mum's machine, and I love this one even more. because it's my own. I like piecing and everything on this because I have speed adjustments. It makes it so easy. With all the different stitches, it doesn't matter what I'm sewing. I can sew a dress or a shirt or a quilt. I'll do what I need it to do. It's not too heavy. I think I found it's like 12 kilos according to online. It's a medium size, I'd say. So it does take up a little bit of room, but not too much. See, it's about 11 inches high by 15 inches. This bit is 6.5 inches deep. It's thinner at the top. I haven't really traveled with the machine at all, apart from like different tables. Because of the size, it fits well in most places. Visually, I like the look of it. It's very tidy and it doesn't look too old or outdated. Whereas I find when I go into some of the shops, especially if I see a purely mechanical machine, it tends to appear more outdated. It doesn't have a thread cutter or anything like that, which I like because I don't like automatic thread cutters and things like that. I find that in my head, maybe, I think it pulls the thread that you've just sewn. I don't know why that is, I just do. The only problem that I've heard with these machines is sometimes they get ghost foot, where it will just start sewing after you've had it for a few years generally. Some people say that's a foot, sometimes it's a machine. I think I've had it once in this and then it stopped, and Mum's machine's done it a couple of times. I think that's just something that you'd face with most technology, where it occasionally is a little dodgy, but it hasn't ruined my experience yet. I think the day that it did it, I was just like, oh, what's happening? And then I found out that my actual foot was loose, and that was the issue. It does get a little dusty, and I definitely do have to keep cleaning out the threads, just dust bits of cotton from up here and in the dog feeds, but it's easy to clean. I've never had any issues with it. Like all machines, it does need an oil every now and again, but again, it's not that hard to do. You could always put it in for a service if you didn't know how to do all those things yourself, or get a handyman who knows how to do it. My puppy is one of those people. I've been able to quilt on this, so piece fabric together. I've made skirts on this, I've made dresses on this, or Mum's machine. I've used both. Sometimes it's hard to remember which one I use. Sometimes if we're doing different things or we need two different cottons, we'll have both machines set up and interchange between them. Yeah, that's really it. This is the Elna 40. I'm in love with it. She is my baby. I probably won't replace her for a long time. The only reason I would replace her would be for something like the Baby Lock that has a huge throat, because if I was quilting my current quilt on this now, I'd be more frustrated than I already am with the Baby Lock or Quilter's Choice. It's a really big quilt. I made a lap quilt and it was fine for quilting on it. All the quilts Mum's made so far, she has quilted on her Elna 40 and it's worked fine. I think she ended up, I like my machine for quilting in the ditch, whereas her machine I find is better for free motion. It's probably just the settings we have it set to that we haven't realised is slightly different, but I also don't like free motion quilting. It's not my jam, but it's hers. Yeah, let me know if you have any other questions, if there's anything else you'd like to know. So far I haven't been able to find a free manual for this online. You have to buy them, but there are a lot of sites, if you just Google Elna 40, that will come up with just a lot of people that have asked questions and other people answering them. I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll talk to you later. Hopefully when I'm finished quilting my quilts. It's a pain in my butt, okay? It's just been a pain, okay? That quilt has not been easy this entire time. Talk to you later. Bye.